Thank you, Manuela. I hope you can all hear me.
Yep.
Great. So, all right, let me turn my camera for now. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get started. Let me move this here. Great. All right. I'm assuming everyone can see my slides, right? Okay, if there's no comment. Can someone please confirm for me that we can see everything so that I can go?
Yes, I see positioning myself for a future in web and code.
Okay,
Roadmap.
great. Thank you, Adam. So today that's what we're going to be talking about, as it says. We're going to be going over a few fundamentals mainly to make sure that, uh, again, like it says, position ourselves, making sure that we're on the right track if this is an interest of yours. I'll start off by saying that with the rise of AI, I'm sure as with most jobs as well, there's a lot of talk about, is this going to take your job away completely? And what I see on that from the
Actually,
web
can you speak up
perspective is
a
that,
little bit?
let me check my mic volume. One moment. Uh, just give me a moment. Okay, it should be better now. Is it better?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, so like I was saying, the fear that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to take all our jobs is very, very present and always being discussed, especially in software development, coding, web development. But then what we've come to see so far in the past 2 years when this technology has going to grow is that the way we interact with the tools may change, but you still need a human being ultimately to direct how the AI is used or direct how things would work. So our jobs are still safe for now. So it is not an irrelevant aspect that we're going to be discussing. A bit of myself background in relation to this, just to add on. I've been working with the web from since I finished university. So right from NSS, building things from the web. Um, and currently the platform that we run called Crayon is fully like web-based. Everything we do is requires like it's a web tool, internet-based that you need to run on. And another way I've also applied this, which will be relevant in what I'll discuss when I'm giving some examples, is the VBS system, Vacation Bible School using LIC. I built that to myself, and again, it's another web tool that's programmed, and it's it shaped a lot of how I have grown in this field today, and I'll share a bit more on that as we go. Great. So a bit more on why this matters again. As we know, digitization is continually expanding. The latest frontier is AI, and there'll be always be new things that will come. But with all these tools that come out, the internet is still the place that people use to give access to other people. So think of any of the tools that you can think of that you use from your smartphone usually requires some internet connection. So there's some aspect of the web involved in that. And someone has to give instructions on how this should work. So it's always relevant that there's someone who understands how the internet works, how to communicate across devices. And so, yeah, it's a very relevant part. And web development in particular, programming for web development, it empowers you to build solutions that solve problems with high impact in the sense that you can build a tool right here and in a few steps make it accessible to people across the world. It can be something that you can grow very easily comparative to before, like earlier on when people had to get physical servers before they could do certain things on the internet. So it has become very accessible as well. And you can find tools everywhere on what you need to learn. Now, again, with AI, it's even easier to research certain things and to which will help you to go and verify some of the things you're learning or questions that you may have. And today, I'm hopefully going to give us a clear roadmap on if you're interested in learning, whether you're starting from scratch, you're already in it, you have falling back a bit, how you can make progress on that. All right. So now to actually define when we say web and code, what is it? The web is divided into, I'll say, three main aspects. We have the front end. And when I say front end, I mean user interfaces for what we see when we visit any web page, any mobile app that uses access to the internet. There's a user interface that you, the user, sees. When you click on google.com, what shows up to you that you see, and you know that, okay, this is where I need to input what I want to search for. That's what we call the front end, right? And so there are frameworks for how we build those. The core tools there are called HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those are the three main things, fundamental building block for any website, any web page, any web app, even mobile apps, how they are built. They are all grounded on a similar foundation. And then we have the what we call backend. So backend consists of application programming interfaces or APIs for short. And what is an API? An API is an like it says an interface, or is the doorway from the browser window that you have open to the server or the place your information is stored and all the business logic is stored. So let me give an example there. You pick your phone, WhatsApp, or you go to WhatsApp web, whichever one. It's a similar UI. And you when you open the app, you expect that your chats should all load. The app doesn't store all your chats on the device. It has to fetch that information from somewhere, which is why when you go to a new phone, you're able to load all your contacts, you can sync your chats and come back. So where it's fetching that information for is called the backend. So the backend will have an API which defines how the data should look like. Then a database which is storing the actual data. That's what a database does. And yeah, there are some examples of some core languages that you use to build things like that. Node.js is the most popular framework because it's also JavaScript based. So you can use it sort of for front end and back end. Then databases, there are tools like Postgres, SQLite, MySQL. If there are any questions, please feel free to just note them down so that we'll come back to it. Then they have specializations. You have to always wonder, after you build your app, how do you make it available for anybody in the world to be able to access? So there are people who are called DevOps engineers who specialize in ensuring that your application is deployed. The term is deployed. So it's deployed somewhere on the internet so that anyone in the world who can hit who visits your URL will be able to find your application. And we have mobile apps. It's again a similar tool. People have to specialize in how to build specifically for mobile phones instead of a browser so that you can access it and still get the same web communication and all that. And then most recent, we have a lot of AI-driven applications, which is where a lot of investment is going to these days. So these are a few like core areas now, core web. And for all these things, you have to write a language that a computer understands to be able to do the instructions you want. To say that when the user visits this page, it's supposed to load all the images he has saved in his gallery, like Google Photos. There's code that has been written. So that's the language that a computer understands, which tells the browser that this is what you do when you get this information from the backend. And there are so many opportunities available in this field of web development. Again, like I said, no matter what is going on in the world, is the web that people use to expose their products for people to use. So there's opportunities in freelance. Companies are looking for engineers for web development, remote jobs. There's people, startups. There are always new startups coming up, and they'll need to build a web app. So there's always opportunities. And depending on the path you take, whether it's front end, back end, specialize in mobile development, DevOps, full stack. I didn't explain that. Full stack means you are skilled in building both front end and back end. People typically focus on one, but a full stack person can do both. And each path has its own rewards and challenges going on. So, what will it take to make it in this space and to be well positioned? First and foremost, hands-on learning. Hands-on learning. There's something we describe as tutorial hell when you are learning to program, which means that you can watch so many tutorials on the topic. And when you're watching the tutorial, you can understand everything so perfectly. Oh, wow, this makes sense. But if we give you a sample problem where you have to apply similar things from what you learned, then you realize that you're struggling and what you thought you knew, you don't actually know it. So this is what we call the tutorial hell, and it's solved by actually hands-on learning. We need to prioritize actively building over just passively consuming things when you're learning. So it's theory alone will not help. Trying to memorize syntax, like the language, it doesn't help in this case. You need to prioritize hands-on building of things, hands-on learning, and then you need to stay curious. I had a boss who used to say that the most important traits for software engineers is self-motivation. And what he meant by that was you always face a new problem, no matter how experienced you are. And if you are not interested in being curious about solving problems, you always immediately hit an obstacle and then give up. There was someone I tried to introduce to programming in a similar issue. I gave him just some small tutorials to follow. And when he started going through it, he said, actually, this is more than what I thought. I thought programming there, you just look at it and right now you understand everything. So we have to be curious and be interested in breaking down complex problems and always be thinking about, oh, how can I solve problems with this? Thirdly, you need to embrace failure. You can ask the most experienced software person who writes code, and they tell you that daily, there are still problems that they face that it took them an unfortunate amount of time to solve. It could have been a simple issue. Debugging, the term used there, is the process of trying to find out what is wrong with the code I've written. So that's debugging, because you're expecting it to behave one way and it's not doing that. Don't fret. It's part of the learning process. That experience, one day you teach an engineer who is starting out. In 1 second, you know the solution because you faced it and you solved it by yourself, usually. And then continuous growth is the mindset that we need to have. You should always be looking to learn the latest technology. So we don't fear the new technologies as they come, but at the same time, you don't always shift to the latest thing. But we always be curious about learning the new things as they come. So that's 4 building blocks of a mindset we need to have if we want to be positioned rightly to grow in a web and code environment. Next, we're going to talk about some practical foundational things that you need to know if you're interested in this. We've already talked about HTML and CSS. So that would be the first thing that you need to master if you are focused on the front end, if you are interested in building the user interfaces people see in their browsers. That is where the focus is. Then you go on to learn what we call front-end frameworks. They are popular. The most popular one is React, but there are other ones like Angular and Vue. Those are 3 main popular ones. But you need to master front-end tools if you want to focus on that. Then we have the back-end tools where we have things like JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, PHP. This is not exhaustive again, but these are like popular ones that I'm putting out there for us to know. And then you need to master what we call Git and GitHub. So Git is something called a version control system. That is simply a way for you to keep track of changes you are making as you write code so that you can have a history of everything that has changed. And you'll be able to go back step by step in the changes. It also allows other people to collaborate with you on the code and see the changes you made and also see the history of changes that you made. And lastly, you need an IDE. An IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Back in the day, they used to write code on paper. You have to send it to a specific machine to compile. But now we have an IDE, so it's an integral part. You don't need to suffer with a lot of things that people used to worry about. The IDE gives you a lot of the tools you need for web development all in one space. So an IDE, and VS Code is the most popular one there again. There are tutorials for all these things in so many places, which brings me to the learning platforms. First and foremost, YouTube is your best friend. Those who enjoy just watching cute videos, funny videos on YouTube, there's so much content for learning there as well. Structured learning, not just all over the place. As you go, you find you're looking for just one specific topic, you can find that. But you find a lot of courses that will take you from zero to hero, from start to experience to a certain point. YouTube is one of them. There's another called Free Code Camp. And funny enough, they also now post on YouTube as well. So find them there. Code Academy, similar thing. There are also some boot camps that people go through, but right now focus on things that you can do yourself to learn. But there are boot camps people may go to be able to start learning these things as well. You have to decide on the stack and stick to it. Growing up ourselves from when I was in university, you'd learn about this technology. Should I start learning this one? Then you start learning this one small, you give up. Start learning this one small, you give up. You start learning this one small, you give up. So you realize you're never fully rounded. The interesting thing is that if you're experienced in one area, it's easier to pick up another area. So if you decide that yours is you want to focus on building beautiful user interfaces for people, stick to that and don't worry about the backend, which is where the business logic or the logic for how the system should behave, where the data is stored, where it's. If you want to focus on the backend, you do that. There are people who want to learn both, but still you have to start from one or the other. You still have to learn backend first or front end first, so that you can get a full grasp of the entire scope before you move on to the other parts. And lastly, you need to understand the web and the way it works. You need to understand what it means when someone says the cloud server. If I say, is the web page you are visiting secure? You need to understand what this means so that when you are building an app, you can also know that I need to take this into account. What is HTTPS? There are so many concepts that as you go through these tutorials, you'll find a new term, a new word, something related to the web. You don't just skip over it. You need to go and look up and find out what that is. You have to understand a bit about how servers work. Not deep knowledge, but basic knowledge about how servers work. How can I deploy my own code and make it accessible on the internet for anyone in the world to see? You'd have to understand some of these core concepts. This was so important, I created a dedicated page for it. Again, don't just consume. You should start building small projects as soon as possible. The hands-on progress is crucial for understanding. I can tell you myself, when I was learning to program, I built first, I learned all the theory, YouTube videos. I understood everything. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then they give a small challenge at the end of it, at the end of each section. And I realized that I didn't understand anything. Even though when the person gives the solution, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I didn't understand. And this brings me to the example of the VBS app. So I started as a backend engineer myself, focusing just on the logic, the code, and the background. And I wanted to build a front end. LIC, we had a need for a registration system that was more robust for VBS. I was a volunteer for Vacation Bible School. So I went to the admin and I told them that, I would like to build this tool for us to use. At that time, I'd never built anything front end before. I was now going to learn. And I gave myself, I had 11 months to get this out. They didn't know that I didn't know how to do it at that point, but I put it as goal of myself. I'm not saying you have to do that. And so they were started advertising, oh, Chachi is building this thing for us. So this year we're not going to do paper and pen. Because before that, they used to set up a desk after church at LIC every day, and people come there and they physically fill the form, fill out the details, register them. And then now collating that, they couldn't have a dashboard to immediately see an overview of the data and find out how many people are in each class at a glance. They had to manually all count those things. So this was yes, that was how I came to start doing that. And it was a long process understanding how front end works and how specifically about CSS, how to design the web page. I really struggled with that one. But it taught me so much that I've used to this day. And now I consider myself full stack. I'm able to build as confidently on the front end as on the back end. And for even for mobile apps. So examples of things to get started with if you're interested in learning the web. You can build your own personal portfolio site, something that just has your picture, a little about yourself, a short bio, your experience, and if there are projects that you've handled, it showcases those projects. So that's a good starting point that will teach you a lot of the fundamentals because you have to start from scratch and host it somewhere under your domain. For example, kofiadams.com. So someone can visit there and see more about you. It will teach you so much more about the web than you would if you just watch videos. A to-do list app is a very common example if you're in the web series because it has a lot of fundamentals for the whole web about creating things, deleting things, retrieving things from your database. So it's a very good candidate as well. Then another popular one is a weather app. You can build a weather app. This will involve pulling data from some external source that has the weather information, and then you can showcase that in your app. So these are three examples of things that if you are interested in starting, you can use. And next thing is building your developer brand. There's a term, build in public. That is a popular term these days when you're building something. And that just to help showcase your progress. And you find a lot of people in the community who you can learn from based on that. Whether it's on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, yeah, it's a way to do that. So having a personal website is one of the ways. So it's one of the ways to start out with that. That's to put yourself out there that this is a career that I'm pursuing. A personal website that showcases your work and the skills. And then publishing your code for publicly publishing your code for others to be able to look at it. This is where GitHub, I mentioned in the previous page, is a popular place. It's a place where you can host code for people to come and see your work and see some of the projects you've been able to build. That's where that comes in. And then you need to network actively, especially if you are looking for reliable people to learn from. X, or formerly Twitter, there's a platform called dev.to. It's a developer platform. LinkedIn is another place. And then depending on the tool you want to use, there could either be a Slack channel. A Slack is a messaging app or messaging tool, or Discord, where you find a lot of people who are using the same tool. And then they've asked questions, issues that you may have encountered. You can talk to them, you can collaborate with people, you can find people in similar shoes at you and learn from each other. So Slack or Discord, depending on the tool, they will show you how you can join that community and find more people. And then there's the concept of open source. Open source is software that people build and give for free for anyone to use. So some of these big companies you see in the world, they are using some of these open source tools and making money off of it. So contributing to open source is a way to show your work and show that you can bring value to the community. So, and helps you gain experience as you try to help in this. Again, depending on where your interest is, you find tools and library that are popular, and you can begin to look into the code and see if there are places for you to be able to contribute. Next, staying relevant in this field. You'd have to always be learning. Always be learning, ABL. You have to always be learning in this field. Again, what I mentioned about my boss saying self-motivation is a huge factor because things can change so quickly and you need to keep up. Even though you may not be using it in your day-to-day work, you may need to keep up with things. So you need to stay abreast with industry trends and following relevant developers. Now, thankfully, there are a lot of YouTube people who convert some of these blogs into content. So if you're a video person, instead of having to go and read through a long article that explains a lot, there'll be videos you can watch to stay abreast with trends. You learn about, if you're following AI, there are models that are coming out each day, almost every week or something. There's a new model or there's a new tool. So there are people who cover this and explain the capabilities, what to look out for if you're interested in them. And so you need to keep an eye on such emerging tools. AI, there's something called serverless architecture, which is why these days you don't have to buy a physical server before you can host your apps. There are people who have provisioned those and you can learn how to use them. Then you can practice your coding skills. There are platforms called like Elite Code, which is for a lot of algorithms, which is not usually very relevant to front web development, but it helps you to build a skill in using the tools in the language. And Front-End Mentor, very relevant to front-end development. Elite Code will be more back-end. And you need to stay flexible to be willing to upskill, learn new things, completely throw away what you knew and you're comfortable with and pick up a new thing. And again, interestingly, the more you do is the easier it is to pick up the more grounded you are in a specific tech, the easier it is to translate those concepts to a new one. All right. So, an action plan. For those who are interested in wondering what next, so what should I do from here? You have to set yourself a learning goal. I currently have one for myself to learn software architecture. It's something with a cloud provider called AWS. And I have a goal for this quarter to learn certain things. So you need to set a goal for yourself. Duration in a month, 2 months, 3 months. 3 months is good because it gives you time to not too short a period where you feel like I haven't made any progress at all, and not too long where you feel like when will I get there? So a 3 month period where you can set a goal for month 1, month 2, month 3, what I'm going to start with. Then two, you have to select the platform where you're going to learn. Researching the YouTube channel you're going to use, the course tutorials you're going to follow, whatever. You need to decide and I stick to that. Because that's, trust me, as you're doing, they'll be recommending other things to you. Oh, why don't you check this, check this, check this? But this should be the primary one. Doesn't mean you don't refer to the other things. And then commit to building at least a new project every month to apply what you've learned. We're not talking a large thing, but depending on what you're interested in, you commit for this month. This is what I want to build to increase my learning. Someone can say, I want to learn how users are able to log in to a web app where you go and it says log in with Google. You just click it, bam, you are logged into the app. You want to learn how to do that. That could be your whole project for the month. That's one thing. Then it would be useful to join a developer community for support, networking, and shared learning. Already highlighted the importance of that as well. Then lastly, look for opportunities to put your skills into practice in a real world context. Because even as you learn, there are dynamics you don't learn unless you're actually working with other people. So the teamwork, the collaboration only come into play when you work with other people. So you need to look for internships or an open source projects that you can attach yourself to and say, I'm going to collaborate with these people to build this project. Yeah, so those are 5 action points you can take and plan to use. And with that, I've given a lot of time for us to ask specific questions. So if there's any questions from anyone at this point, we'd like to take them. And I hope, Manuela, you can help coordinate that. Thank you. This is Manuela here.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Please, I didn't hear the latter part of what you said. I heard
Oh,
with
saying
it.
that, so now there's opportunity for questions. So
Okay.
if you could help coordinate, yes, people like
Okay.
asking more questions if there are any questions. Yes, that
Thank you
way.
so much, Chachu. Please, if you have any question, you can put your hand up and then we'll take your question. But whilst we are getting ready to ask our questions,
Mhm.
I'd like to find out. So, are there any interesting emerging niches in web and code, like kind of like different, unique that you can tell us a bit about?
Interesting, unique developments in web and code, right? Was that the question, Manuela?
Hello, sorry, I missed that.
Hello? Sorry, I think my headphone died. Can you hear me, Manuela?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Question. Okay. Did I get the question right? You're asking if what are the interesting emerging text tools in web and code.
I missed the question again. I think your internet flicked at that point. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, I
I
can
was
hear you.
asking, okay, was the question what are some interesting emerging tools in web and code?
Now, I'll
Was
say
that the
emerging
question?
niches, like
Okay, emerging
emerging
issues.
to
Okay,
in web
okay.
and code. Yeah.
Basically, everything is centered around AI assisted development right now, right? So there are
Okay.
tools like this one called lovable.dev. So that's lovable, right? Like this, that can help you, like you just talk to it and it will help you build the app. you don't really have to understand the coding. But again,
Okay.
everyone who's in the industry will let you know that for production apps, you still need someone who understands it, because when you need to customize things or change certain things, if you don't know how to do it, you don't even know what to tell the tool to do it, right? It's the term is vibe coding, where you code without looking at any of the code that is being written. You just tell the AI, build this for me, and it builds it. Do this for me, and it does it. Then there are so many of these tools that are coming out almost every week. There's another one. Another one is called Chef. They all have some costs associated with them, but usually you can start for free. When you want to get complex, then you need to start paying for some things. So this is another one. Google has a popular one that has a generous free tier. It's called Google AI Studio. So a lot of things are centered around AI assisted development, where I don't need to worry so much about knowing how to code. I can just start talking to it and it will help me. So I can I can even demo one to you. Let me see, using Chef. Sorry, Lovable. If I'm logged in. All right. So this, let's say I want to build an attendance, something that will track attendance for all of us in a meeting. Skip. All right. So build a tool that will track attendance for an event. Let's see, something like that. All right. And then I hit enter. So what this will do is it's taking track of the things we mentioned: front end, back end, API, database, and it will try and combine all these things and just spit out the UI for you to just follow. So you as a user are not as concerned about, oh, where's my app running? How do I deploy it? What technologies are being used for the front end? So on and so forth. So it will start giving instructions about what it's going to do. And it will take a while, but eventually to spit out this UI, you can visit it in the browser to see, and you can decide to publish it. So I think that's the most like popular emerging trend. Everyone is raising funding for some AI components, using AI to do this, using AI to do that. So it's the same in web, using AI to build the web tools, using AI tools to build the web, web apps.
Okay, that's very interesting. I
Yeah.
think, Bismarck, you had a similar question. You're asking if Josh, you can explain more on the AI-driven applications. Does this answer your question, or you still want a little more clarity? Bismarck.
Is he there?
Hi, Bismarck, are you here?
Maybe he can't speak. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so whilst we are waiting for Bismarck to respond, Alexandra is asking that she says, so I built a few front-end projects using React and Tailwind CSS in 2023, but I've been away from coding for more than a year now. What's the best way to get back into it?
All right. So the first thing would be to go back to the application you built and see whether everything still works, to make sure that it's what this is needed, right? So I can add an attendee. I know we said Bismarck. So Bismarck here, we as Gmail, and then optional, I can add Bismarck. Look at that. And I can check him in. all without doing anything. I mean, without me actively coding this. So there are a lot of these tools, but let's say later I want to customize exactly how a lot of these things behave. AI has a knack of changing things that you told it not to change. So I can give it another example and to end up changing the whole UI when it could have been a 1 second change if I was doing it myself. So that's just, yeah, a overview. Yeah, I hope I've answered the question. I think it was for Alexandra, right?
Yes, from Alexandra. Alexandra, please does answer your question.
Okay, I think I've seen it in chat. Yeah. I think there's a follow-up question from Bridget or next question.
Okay, so Bridget's follow-up question is, can a person learn from scratch without any prior knowledge, and how long may it take averagely?
Duration, I can't give an answer on, but can a person learn from scratch? Definitely. Just like anything that you pick up for the first time. There'll be a learning curve where at the start it seems very tedious and you go on the high. So how long it takes averagely depends on you and how much time you can put into it, how much sense the concepts in programming make to you. So it can take a while. There are people who take a long time to pick things up, and that is perfectly fine. So I can't give an average duration to save off. That would be general across everyone. It depends a lot on you. Yeah.
Okay, so in your quest to learn this new skill, what are some of the characteristics that you think are important to succeed?
Mm-hmm. So characteristics that I think are important for a beginner who has started coding to have. you, honestly, you need a lot of perseverance. And I highlighted four. So curiosity is one of the things that you need. You have to be curious about the problem you want to solve or what you're trying to do. If the interest is not there, then it will become a huge chore when something is not working for 6 hours and you don't have any idea why. Yeah, you need to persevere. So perseverance is the second one. The curiosity to want to solve problems, and the perseverance when things don't seem to work that should be working, to keep fighting on. All the other things, I'm sure there'll be other factors, but these two are core ones for me that I've seen have really shaped how I learn and helped me to press on. Because I can tell you there was a point when programming did not make sense to me at all. At all, like 0 sense. And I was like, will I be able to get this ever? But yeah, today it's second nature in how to talk to the computers. Curiosity, perseverance, those two for me. Is there anyone? Manuela, I see a hand.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Justice, please, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank
Just
you,
want to
Justice.
ask. I mean, I stepped out a bit, so I don't know whether you've answered this already. But is it still lucrative to code in the accent because you just ask? I mean, like a site or like a GUI to say create this app to take attendance, and as we are talking, it's creating it in the background. And within some few
Mm-hmm.
minutes, it's done. And that's it. You pay some few bucks and you're gone. Compared to
Mm-hmm.
hiring a tech guy
An
who will sit
engineer,
in his
yeah.
office and say, okay, I don't have internet today and I'm sick or something like that. Compared to this guy,
Mm-hmm.
he never sleeps. AI is never sleeping. He's always working. He's going to create it and you can ask it to fix the bugs. And I mean, I've tried coding before and one bug and you are trying to solve and there's a full stop missing somewhere and you are frustrated. This one will not make that mistake. So is it
Oh,
still
trust me,
lucrative?
does.
And how much does an average person in your industry earn?
Okay, so let's
Thank
break
you.
it down first and see. Thank you for the question, Justice. Is this still lucrative? I'll use a story to explain this. So this exact tool that I'm talking about. I work as a software engineer as well. So the company I work with, we had a client who came to us. They have their starter um incubator, sorry. So they have a lot of people who have ideas, come and pitch their ideas and they choose who to fund and stuff like that. So these people, all of them have built their app with this tool I'm using right now called Lovable. Right. Now, when it came to the time for actually to show, they want to now show the not proof of concept, but to move from proof of concept to active products where they can start to scale it. Now they had to come and look for our company to come and help them do that because they realize that they can see this, but they have no idea how to edit any of the things that really matter in terms of the way the logic works. They will ask the AI to do some things, it does something else. And they don't know that it has done the wrong thing. So they assume that it has done the correct thing. And then they try another run and then they realize that it's still not doing it. They go through again. Again, they don't understand the code. So they'll go over again, try another run. No, 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 you made a mistake. I said do this instead of this. The AI will say, oh, you're right. Sorry about that. And to do something, I fixed it now. You try again. So there are many of those things. And if you don't understand the code, you will not even be able to tell whether there's a mistake. It may work for certain cases, and then the other cases that it doesn't. So now we make the case that it's still lucrative to code, but now there's a higher barrier for entry level people because the mistakes that the AI makes are like entry level people's mistakes. That a senior person is supposed to now come and see and then, oh, correct, I know this is how it should be done, and so on and so forth. So that's how we usually call it, like a junior level engineer. So yes, it's still relevant, it's still lucrative because now the consultants are also charging more for such projects like this because it's like you messed up now and then you're now coming to me to come and help fix it. But then there's also the need for people to build the tools that do this thing. So this interface that we've just used, someone still has to build it. And uh, someone had to build it before AI was started. So someone has to maintain it even after AI. There's also a problem of when new technologies come out, the AI has been trained on old data. So it will make maybe way more mistakes than if it is an old technology. And there are a lot of new tools that keep coming out. So it still does need people to learn those tools, understand the context, and now train the AI to use them. So yes, it is still lucrative, but I'll say that there is a higher entry bar. How much on average does someone interested make? It varies very wildly for if you're working for a Ghanaian company versus outside. And I don't have figures across the world, but I know that it can vary. Recently, Meta was hiring people and they are offering them 1 billion a year. So yeah, people are earning that much. They are poaching them from other companies to pay them that to come and build some of these tools. And then
1
they are also
billion. Tell me about
yes, you can look for Mark Zuckerberg decided that this is the extent he's interested in AI, so he's willing to pay that much. And yeah, it's worked for people.
But Chachu,
And
isn't isn't
yes.
it also the case that the AI is getting better? So after one round of iteration, I say do this, and it did the wrong thing. Subsequently, it
Mm-hmm.
won't do that again, or it has learned that information, and therefore will get better at it. In fact, like when we used to ask AI to draw images, it used to draw very weird images, some that the fingers are not properly
Mm-hmm.
drawn. But now
Mm-hmm. And now it's much
fingers
better.
are getting better. The images are looking like real human beings, and
Yeah,
just getting better and better and better. So I suppose that means that the entry bar is therefore rising higher and higher and higher.
higher and higher, yes. But it still doesn't eliminate the users because you still need like the users who control how the tools behave. So there's still always going to be the need for someone who knows how to manage that. That is the trade-off right now. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Thank you.
Welcome. Manuela, please back to you.
Okay. Um, Eli has this question. Please, is it advisable for a beginner to use multiple applications to learn?
I want to know what it means by applications. That's what I want to know now.
Okay, please, can you give us a little more clarity, Eli?
Yes, give us the clarity.
Okay,
What the
and
application is.
whilst you're waiting for his clarity, Bismarck had another
Okay.
question. He was asking which organization you would recommend for the best hands-on experience in Ghana.
Mm. I haven't worked at all companies, so I can't really tell this work. And it will be availability will be the main key because not all companies are the same windows to have internships for people or like new people. So I don't have a definite list I can give you and say this or this or this. Definitely, I don't have those.
Okay, but are there some things to look out for in a company that will show that, oh yeah, this will be good for my education or like my career in this field?
Mm, you'd have to know someone there because you can't tell from the outside. You need to know someone there to ask. Because things can look very rosy from the outside, and when you enter, you realize that there's no room for learning here. They are doing the same thing. I don't want to mention company's name. They do the same thing that's just like 20 years old. They don't want to advance, and you end up just being frustrated there. So it would be good to talk to someone there, find out where the opportunities and find out what is the engineering culture like. Does this promote learning? Does this promote learning? I can say from the companies I've worked on, especially M Pharma, that was a very good one. That they promoted learning for you to self continuous improvement. You literally had a good plan every quarter, goals for what you aim to achieve. That was company managed. They'll give you time to learn to do those things. I have a similar thing in my company now where they are paid to learn. Like you have company time to continue learning new tools. So that's a good factor. What is the engineering culture like there? You need to find out from someone there. But the availability will still be the key one. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I think Eli has sent a clarification for his question. He said he's talking about the tools for learning.
Okay, so yeah, I'll stick to, yeah, I get you. You should stick to a few and commit to completing those. Because trust me, there are so many options you can look at. So find one that you are starting with, commit to it. If it's you have two courses you are planning to commit, whether it's from one YouTube channel, it's from LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, wherever, you commit to that and finish it before you go and look for something else. Because trust me, you'll find a lot of other tools that you could also jump to try and learn from. So yeah, I would stick to couple at most, couple that I'm focusing on at each point. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think I have one more question as well. So I think you touched on it a bit, but I want some more information. How
Okay.
do you balance learning code with building your portfolio? Can you dive a little more into that?
Balance learning with building an actual portfolio.
Yes.
I think hmm, it depends a lot on your field. So, for example, people who work on front end, so they build user interfaces, they usually have a lot more to showcase in their portfolio than someone who worked on a back end project. Because people are not really interested in diving through code or the code and see, oh, did they use the if statement correctly, which is where the business logic is. So if you're a front end person, any projects you build can basically be used to showcase your skill on your portfolio. The portfolio as well for the front end because you have a UI that comes out at the end that you can screenshots, put on your site or link to and show on your site that hey, I built this. It shows that I use this tool, this tool, this tool. I use these animations, yada yada yada. It shows all those things. If you are a back-end person, it's more difficult. You'll be learning a lot without being able to showcase it because again, no one is going to always go through the code unless it's an interview that you're going with. So there's a bit more nuance. How would you dedicate time to learning versus building a portfolio? So I can tell you, for example, most of my experience are for companies that the code is private because I was working as a backend engineer. So you can't see the UI, you can't see the work. I don't have it on a website you can go and look at. So I don't know how uh, balance that if I'm focused on the back end. Front end, both go simultaneously very nicely as you're building a project. Yeah, those are my 2 cents there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All
right.
Are there any more questions? We have a few minutes to wrap up. So if you have any more,
Chacho, how easy is it to find a job?
How easy is it?
Find a job.
Hey. Justice, okay, this one is very relatable. If you know
No,
people,
as like a university
networking is
graduate,
much
you
easier.
learn to code and
Okay,
you know your basic Java,
so
you know your
great.
HTML or CSS.
Being part of a community is your biggest, easiest entry way into getting a job. There's what's the name of this community in Ghana? Oh, I'm blanking on the name now. Oh, I'll confirm it and I'll see when it's Dev Congress. Dev Congress. Dev Congress. If you Google Dev Congress Ghana, they are a very popular one that's like young people are able to come up with. You can find people to mentor, and if your progress is good, you get recommendations for people. They will put job opportunities and postings even there. Based on your skill, you might be able to apply. So knowing people is the fastest route to getting a job. And this one is not illegal. I don't mean like connection, knowing people, but the fact that you're connected to the people who know where the jobs are and then can help you. They can recommend you and say that I know this young person who has the skills and skills. I'm willing to give him a chance. That is a great injury. Solo trying to find for yourself, that one is hard. You can get some test, even some interview question that's not related at all to what you'll be doing. And even though you're a good engineer, you fail that test because it's so impractical in the sense that the algorithms and things they're testing you on is not applicable to what you want to do. So yeah, that is more tedious, but doesn't mean it's not also possible. So I would say like any job in Ghana is also it is relatively difficult.
Okay. With
But
what you
once
know
you're
right now,
established too, it's also easier. Mhm.
with what you know right now, if you went back to uni, will you still choose, I mean, like what you chose? And then
Yes. I would
have you ever had a
change
difficulty
my
in your, I
path.
mean, in your area
Yes.
of work that you couldn't solve? Maybe you had some like coding or something to do that you just couldn't do it, or how did you go
Oh
about?
yes,
I know a friend
plenty times.
who submits sometimes asks AI for help and says, "How do I code this?" And the AI writes the code, it just copies and pastes them and
Uh-huh.
makes it much finer. In fact, he says that the AI write the code even very beautifully, like instead of going 4 or 5 steps, it will just compress everything and it is so neat and nice compared to what he would have actually done. So have you ever had a situation where
Now
you
the
think so?
next question is, can you understand it in well enough to explain it to others or to understand the trade-offs that the AI is making? I've seen AI hallucinates
I
before,
guess
Justice, where I can tell it that's not true. And then it will tell me, oh, you're right. Sorry, I was referring to an older documentation. Plenty times that's happening day to day while I'm working. So if you don't have the experience, it will still be very like you tell your boss that, oh, this task will take me 1 day, and then you Charlie chill, relax the whole day because oh the AI is there. So Charlie, in the last 30 minutes, I'll just say do this for me and then to do it, and then you submit it and show to your boss. Then your boss comes to ask you, why did you choose to do it this way? There's something we call code review. So where you review the code, and then you can be there and be like, the AI has messed me up. What do you do then? Or what are the trade-offs you are making with this change? Yeah, so there's always trade-offs. There's always trade-offs. All the situations.
yeah, but I mean, if you understand it very
Yeah.
well, you were able to maybe make it like maybe understand it and be able to
It's a
course,
great code
maybe
pilot,
like
yes.
recreate that to fit your particular, I mean, like your bespoke situation. You're able to
Yes,
like
yes.
ask it to do
Very
exactly
true.
what you want it to
So
do.
it will make you like 10 times more productive. It can make you as much as maybe 100 times, depending on what you are doing. If you
Okay.
understand what it's doing, it can make you like 100 times productive and you still understand everything that's going on in the code base. Because trust me, the time will come when in the emergency, you need to find the code and make a change for something that's an edge case that was not caught. If you don't understand it, you'll be there and they'll say, you aren't the one who wrote this. You wrote the feature, find it, fix it, fix it. The client is waiting, the system is broken. Then you
Hi,
now have to go and ask the AI.
hi.
Hi, Manala.
Please, sorry to interrupt. We have like just like 2 minutes to go up, but someone was
Oh,
asking
okay.
for clarity on the app, the platform that you mentioned, the Dev
Yes.
Dev
Dev
Congress or
Congress.
something.
Dev Congress. So Dev
DEV
Congress.
Congress
Yes.
or
You can look
DEF
for them on
Congress.
like DEV, Dev, DEV. So
DEV.
you
Okay,
can,
okay, okay,
yes,
okay.
starts with a Google search. They have like a Slack channel active on Twitter is the one I know most, or X. Yeah, introduce the when you join that Slack channel, introduce yourself. This I'm a beginner, interested in this and this. You find people similar fates and yeah, learn from them. That's it.
Okay, okay.
Actually, you didn't answer my question about if you've had a difficulty you couldn't resolve in your
Oh
line of
yes,
work.
justice. Yes,
Why,
yes.
yeah, you
I'm sure
couldn't code
even
it. You
last
couldn't
week.
write a code for it.
Yes. Ah, wait. What you say? I couldn't write like even
So
after referring to the
you are supposed
documentation,
to
the
code something,
documentation
or you're supposed
that
to write something for maybe your boss or your or client or something, and you just couldn't write it. You had difficulty in doing it, and you just
early
couldn't
on,
solve it.
yes. Earlier on, yes, but these days not so much because like I'm familiar with the project I'm working on. It's a fixed scope that we have context of everything. Earlier on, very much so, many times, career just couldn't write it, and I could not even articulate the words to my boss that I don't know what I can do wrong. Like I don't know what I need to do the right thing. Yes, yes, yes. That's happened many times. The breakout room is about to end.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much, Chatri, for giving us all this information. We are grateful.
You're welcome.